Abigail Monroe believed solitude would silence her grief, until a stormy night along abandoned railway tracks proved her wrong. Through the blinding snow, a wolf emerged, dragging a crimson bag soaked by the storm. What lay hidden inside would pull Abigail into a journey she never imagined, a path of forgiveness, courage, and the strength to heal wounds deeper than any blizzard could bury. The first snowstorm of the season hit the sleepy Appalachian town of Cold River with brutal force, wrapping the landscape in heavy layers of white that muffled every sound and blurred every shape. By evening, the streets lay empty beneath glowing amber lamps, and the thick snowfall reduced visibility to mere inches. In the heart of this relentless storm, near the old, abandoned railroad tracks that once bustled with life, sat a solitary cabin, home to Abigail Monroe. Abigail Monroe was a woman in her late 30s whose presence felt like a whisper amid the vastness of the mountains. Petite and slender, she moved with a quiet elegance overshadowed by sorrow. Her dark brown hair fell softly past her shoulders, framing a face that was beautiful yet deeply marked by grief. Lines etched softly around her hazel eyes spoke volumes of sleepless nights and hidden tears. Those who had known her before tragedy struck remembered a warm, engaging woman, but now Abigail carried herself with guarded reserve, withdrawing from friendships and conversations. Her signature scarlet coat, vividly bright against the bleak landscape, seemed like a silent statement, perhaps an effort to hold onto a fragment of the vibrant woman she once was. She'd chosen Cold River precisely for its isolation, hoping the silent solitude could numb the memories of losing Amelia, her 6-year-old daughter. Amelia had been Abigail's whole world, a spirited child with chestnut curls, an irrepressible smile, and eyes that sparkled with innocent curiosity. But a single terrible moment had stolen everything when Amelia had wandered too far onto thin ice during an early winter freeze. Abigail, only feet away yet helpless, had watched her entire life fracture as Amelia disappeared beneath the ice. The town, bustling briefly each summer with tourists drawn to its quaint charm, remained quiet and secluded in winter. For Abigail, the solitude was welcome. Her modest cabin sat nestled between thick pines and the unused railroad track, abandoned years ago after the last coal trains ceased their regular journeys. Overgrown weeds peeked from beneath the heavy snow along the tracks, marking time in nature's quiet reclamation. Inside, Abigail had barely unpacked. Only essentials filled her tiny home: a weathered pine table, an old iron stove, and a worn armchair placed near the frost-covered window overlooking the tracks. Atop the mantel rested a single photograph in a silver frame. Amelia laughing brightly at the camera, her cheeks rosy with joy. The picture drew Abigail's eyes like a magnet, yet every glance was another small wound. Nightfall deepened, and Abigail sat bundled in her armchair, staring through frosted glass as the storm howled furiously outside. The winds battered the cabin relentlessly, testing its strength. Yet Abigail felt detached, strangely comforted by nature's fury mirroring her internal turmoil. Suddenly, something caught her eye, movement amidst the driving snow. Abigail sat forward, squinting through the blurred panes. Outside, barely visible through the swirling storm, was a shadow, an animal, struggling against the heavy drifts. She rose quickly, heart quickening as the shadow grew clearer through the driving snow. Stepping closer to the window, her breath fogged the glass, momentarily obscuring her view. She wiped it away impatiently, revealing the creature clearly for the first time. It was a wolf, a gray wolf, muscular yet visibly strained, fur streaked dark from moisture and exhaustion. Its body trembled with effort, jaw clenched tightly around something vividly crimson, a red bag. Abigail stared transfixed. Wolves were not unheard of here, but rarely ventured close to human habitation, even abandoned ones. This wolf was different, its purposeful struggle disturbing in a way she couldn't articulate. Every step appeared agonizing, paws sinking deeply into the snowdrifts as it dragged the bag along the abandoned railroad. Before she knew it, Abigail was slipping on her boots, throwing on her scarlet coat, and pulling open the cabin door. A blast of icy wind greeted her harshly, whipping snowflakes violently around her as she stepped outside. She squinted, feeling snow instantly melting on her warm skin and freezing again. "Wait," she called out instinctively, her voice instantly swallowed by the storm. The wolf halted abruptly, ears twitching, eyes fixed intently on Abigail. They were striking amber eyes, deep and expressive, filled not with aggression but desperation, a plea Abigail inexplicably felt in her bones. Heart pounding, Abigail cautiously approached, boots crunching loudly in fresh snow, the wind tugging insistently at her coat. "It's okay," she murmured softly, not entirely sure why she spoke. "I won't hurt you." The wolf seemed to understand her tone, visibly relaxing its jaw, letting the bag fall softly into the snow, staining it with a darker shade of red. The creature stepped back slightly, allowing space between Abigail and the mysterious object. Abigail bent down carefully, breath heavy with apprehension. The bag was a woman's handbag, leather, high quality, but now scratched and muddied. Abigail's fingers trembled as she reached out, the leather stiff from the cold. She gently opened the zipper, heart thudding painfully in her chest. Inside, wrapped hastily in a torn cloth, lay something tiny, furred, and barely breathing, a wolf pup. It was incredibly small, clearly struggling for survival, shivering violently from cold and fear. Abigail gasped softly, feeling immediate empathy grip her heart. In an instant, memories flooded her. Amelia's small hands, her helpless eyes beneath the icy water, the unbearable sensation of loss clawing once more at her heart. She lifted her gaze back to the adult wolf, who now watched silently, its golden eyes holding her stare intently, wordlessly pleading. In this moment, Abigail saw herself clearly reflected, the desperation of a mother trying everything to protect her child. "I understand," Abigail whispered hoarsely, her voice choked with emotion. "I will help." She gently picked up the trembling bundle, feeling its tiny heartbeat fluttering weakly in her hand. The pup whimpered softly, a fragile sound that tore deeper into Abigail's already wounded heart. Quickly, she tucked it securely within her coat, feeling its warmth seep through her layers. Looking up again, Abigail noticed the adult wolf stepping back further, blending into the storm, eyes still locked onto Abigail. Slowly, it raised its muzzle, letting out a single soft, mournful howl, piercing through the storm's fury, echoing briefly through the snow-filled silence, carrying both gratitude and grief. Then, just as abruptly, the wolf turned and vanished into the darkness, leaving Abigail alone again, standing amidst the tempest holding a tiny, fragile life. Turning back toward the cabin, Abigail moved quickly, shielding the tiny creature from wind and snow. As she closed the door behind her, silence returned, punctuated only by her rapid heartbeat and the faint whimpering from within her coat. Settling near the stove, she carefully placed the small pup onto the warm blanket. Its eyes, barely opened, met hers briefly, holding a gentle plea for safety. Abigail gently stroked its fur, whispering quiet reassurances, realizing that tonight had shifted something fundamental within her. She'd found something small but powerful to care for, something to anchor her drifting heart, a life as delicate as her lost Amelia had once been. Outside, the storm continued raging, yet inside the small cabin, hope had quietly sparked amidst grief and solitude. Abigail Monroe, woman of sorrow and silent strength, found herself unexpectedly connected to the wilderness and to life again, guided mysteriously by the storm, by the wolf, and by the tiny creature now nestled warmly beside her, alive against all odds. A bitter dawn rose over Cold River, sunlight barely piercing through heavy clouds. The previous night's blizzard had left deep drifts, coating the abandoned railroad tracks in pristine white. Silence lay heavily across the frozen landscape, disrupted only occasionally by snapping branches under the weight of snow. Just half a mile down the tracks from Abigail Monroe's cabin stood another small dwelling, a weathered, modest cottage constructed decades ago. Smoke curled softly from its chimney, a faint sign of life in the isolated wilderness. This was the refuge of Liam Crawford, the town's forgotten guardian of the rails. Liam was nearing 70, a tall man whose broad shoulders were now stooped beneath the heavy burden of guilt. His hair had long since gone fully silver, a wild tangle framing a face deeply etched by regret. His eyes were piercing blue, once keen with vigilance, now shadowed by memories too painful to forget. His hands, large and calloused, spoke of years working outdoors in all weathers, operating switches and signals on the railroad. His presence was powerful yet subdued, the aura of a man who'd grown accustomed to solitude. 25 years ago, Liam had been entrusted with ensuring safe passage along these tracks. One bitter December evening, a lapse in his concentration, an overlooked signal, had led to tragedy. A freight train had collided disastrously with a smaller passenger train, derailing multiple cars, injuring dozens, and claiming 2 lives. Liam was immediately absolved legally, but emotionally, he imprisoned himself forever. He resigned, retreating to a life of self-imposed exile near the tracks. Each passing train whistle a haunting reminder of his fatal error. Liam had become a fixture in Cold River, a solitary figure often seen trudging quietly through the forest trails. He rarely spoke, preferring solitude to the awkward pity or accusing glances from townsfolk. His isolation had made him wary, but beneath his silent exterior remained a core of kindness, seen only briefly by those he secretly aided. A lost hiker pointed safely home, a broken fence mysteriously repaired overnight. That morning, Liam stood on his porch, sipping coffee and gazing absently toward the distant cabin where he'd noticed Abigail's arrival weeks earlier. He had observed her move in, curious yet respectfully distant, aware she too sought solitude. But last night's unusual activity, a wolf dragging something vividly red through the storm, had intrigued and worried him. Wolves were rare here. That one should appear, seemingly unafraid, felt unsettling. Finishing his coffee, Liam pulled on his thick wool coat and heavy boots. He decided to walk the tracks toward Abigail's cabin to check on her, more out of a cautious, neighborly instinct than genuine desire for interaction. Stepping into the biting cold, he began his slow trek along the snow-covered rails. As Liam moved through drifts higher than his knees, his thoughts wandered back to his accident, replaying for perhaps the 1000th time. The screeching metal, shattering glass, cries for help, it never faded. Suddenly, something interrupted his memories, a flash of red against the white. Liam stopped, heart quickening with anxiety. His breath misted heavily in the cold air as he bent down, inspecting the snow-covered ground carefully. It was a small, torn piece of red leather, clearly from a bag, starkly vivid against the snow. A shiver ran down Liam's spine, and it wasn't from a cold. He glanced toward Abigail's cabin. This bag had come from the wolf's mysterious burden. A strange urgency seized him. He quickened his steps, pushing through deeper snowbanks until he reached Abigail's front door. Hesitating briefly, he knocked firmly, feeling somewhat foolish. The door opened slowly, revealing Abigail. She looked weary, yet determined, her scarlet coat still draped around her shoulders. Liam instantly noticed the small bundle she held protectively, a wolf pup wrapped snugly in soft blankets, peeking weakly at him. Abigail's eyes widened in wary surprise at the unfamiliar visitor. Liam spoke first, voice deep and hesitant. "Saw the wolf last night, dragging something. Is everything all right here?" Abigail studied him carefully, seeing honesty in his concern. "Yes," she replied softly. "She brought me her pup. It was nearly frozen. I'm trying to save it." Liam stepped closer, eyes softening with understanding. "Let me see." Abigail reluctantly handed him the tiny bundle. Liam cradled it gently, inspecting carefully. Poor thing's dehydrated, cold, probably malnourished, he murmured, compassion evident. Handing the pup back to Abigail, Liam's voice was steady, confident. I have supplies. Medicine. Some formula left from when I fostered an orphaned fox last summer. I'll bring them. Abigail hesitated, then nodded appreciatively. Back at his cabin, Liam gathered his supplies, briefly glancing at faded photos of the past on his mantel. A younger Liam, smiling with friends from the railroad company, before everything changed. He quickly brushed aside those memories, returning swiftly to Abigail. Inside her cabin, Liam expertly prepared warm formula, teaching Abigail how to gently feed the pup with a makeshift dropper. His knowledge surprised her. Quietly, Liam admitted, animals have been good company through the years. They don't judge. Abigail nodded silently, recognizing shared grief in his simple words. In comfortable silence, Abigail finally spoke softly. Why do you stay out here alone? Liam hesitated, then sighed deeply, the shadows deepening across his face. Long ago, I caused a terrible accident on these tracks. Lives were lost. Couldn't live around people after that. Their eyes reminded me every day. His voice trailed painfully, his eyes distant. Abigail placed a gentle hand on his shoulder, offering silent empathy. She understood. I lost my daughter last winter. Ice took her, she whispered, eyes glistening. In shared sorrow, a quiet understanding passed between them, beginning to mend invisible wounds. Abigail glanced down at the pup, now sleeping peacefully, small belly rising and falling steadily. Maybe this pup needs us both, she said softly, a quiet hope edging into her voice. Liam, his expression softening further, nodded slowly. Maybe it does. Outside, the day grew dim again, skies threatening more snow. Liam prepared to return home. Abigail smiled faintly. Thank you. For everything. He nodded quietly, eyes kinder than before. Take good care of it. Call me Liam. She returned the gesture gently. I'm Abigail. Liam turned away, walking slowly back through deepening snow toward his cabin. As flakes gently began to fall again, he noticed the tiny piece of red leather in the snow once more, stark reminder of the wolf's desperate journey. Pausing, he picked it up carefully, slipping it into his coat pocket, a small, powerful token of hope amidst cold shadows of regret. Inside Abigail's cabin, the pup slept peacefully, symbolizing unexpected new beginnings for two souls lost in past sorrows, bound now by shared compassion. The snowstorm finally abated, leaving behind a sparkling white landscape under a cold winter sun. Abigail sat quietly beside the fireplace, watching the tiny wolf pup sleep peacefully, wrapped warmly in an old wool blanket. Its breathing had grown steadier, and faint color had returned to its small, gray-furred body. Despite its improving condition, the pup still whimpered softly from time to time, its frailty an aching reminder of its near-death experience. Abigail felt an inexplicable pull toward this fragile creature, its vulnerability reminding her vividly of Amelia's final days. In her hands, Abigail held the damaged red handbag that the wolf mother had dragged through the storm. It felt oddly heavy, carrying a strange air of significance. The leather had darkened from exposure, its surface roughened by the wolf's teeth and weather. Carefully, she explored its pockets and folds, fingers searching for answers. Deep within the bag's inner lining, Abigail discovered a hidden compartment, tightly zipped. Her curiosity piqued. She carefully pried it open. Inside was a folded photograph, slightly torn at the edges, yellowed with age. Unfolding it gently, she studied the image in surprise. It was a black-and-white picture of a smiling couple standing proudly before Cold River's old train depot, the man tall and sturdy, a rugged confidence radiating from his stance, the woman petite, lively, eyes sparkling with warmth. Scribbled on the back in faded pencil were the names, Thomas and Margaret, Cold River Station, 1952. Abigail felt a flutter of intrigue. She wondered who they were, why their image had been hidden away, and how their story connected to this mysterious bag. Just then, a gentle knock came at the door, pulling Abigail from a reverie. Opening the door cautiously, she recognized Emily Foster, a young woman in her early 20s, known around Cold River as an amateur wildlife photographer and enthusiast. Emily was a vibrant presence, her appearance energetic and cheerful, a stark contrast to the solemn quiet of the forest cabin. She had shoulder-length blonde hair tucked beneath a knit beanie, bright green eyes sparkling with genuine enthusiasm, her face always flushed with excitement and fresh air. Her puffy blue jacket and worn hiking boots indicated someone comfortable in nature who spent more time outdoors than indoors. Emily was well-liked in town, always ready with a warm greeting or an offer of help, genuinely fascinated by the wilderness around Cold River. Sorry to bother you," Emily said warmly, her breath misting in the cold air. "I saw tracks in the snow leading here, a wolf's tracks. I've been tracking wolves for months, trying to document their return to the area. Have you seen anything unusual?" Abigail hesitated, then opened the door wider, motioning Emily inside. "You might say that," Abigail admitted quietly, guiding her toward the fireplace. Emily's eyes widened as she spotted the wolf pup curled near the fire. "Oh my goodness, is it injured?" she asked softly, immediately kneeling and gently inspecting the pup without touching it, careful to not disturb its sleep. "He was. A mother wolf brought him to me, inside this bag," Abigail explained, pointing to the red handbag. Emily examined the bag with intense curiosity. "This is incredible," Emily breathed softly. "This is no ordinary wolf encounter. Wolves are naturally shy. Why would it trust you with its pup? It's unheard of." Abigail sat down heavily beside Emily, looking thoughtfully at the fire. "I think it was desperation," she finally said, her voice thickening with emotion. "A mother's last hope for her child." Emily studied Abigail carefully, sensing deep pain hidden behind her quiet words. "Do you plan to keep it?" Emily asked softly. "I think I have to," Abigail said, looking gently at the pup. "I named him River." "River," Emily repeated softly, smiling warmly. "That's beautiful. Is there a special reason behind it?" Abigail's eyes clouded, memories briefly overwhelming her. "It's complicated," she whispered. "The river took someone precious from me, my daughter, Amelia. Naming him River feels like facing the past, honoring her memory somehow." Emily's expression softened with empathy. "I am sorry, Abigail. Loss is hard, especially here, isolated with your memories." She paused thoughtfully. "But maybe this pup will help you heal. Nature has a way of restoring what we thought we lost forever." Abigail nodded silently, appreciating the younger woman's genuine kindness. She showed Emily the old photograph she found inside the hidden compartment. Emily's eyes sparkled with curiosity. "Thomas and Margaret? I've heard their names before," Emily said thoughtfully. "They ran the depot long ago. Margaret vanished under mysterious circumstances. Some say she left abruptly. Others whispered about something darker. Thomas stayed until his death, alone, never speaking of her again." Abigail stared at the picture, fascinated and disturbed. Why would their photo be hidden like this? How did it end up with a wolf pup in a blizzard? Emily shrugged, slightly, fascinated. Perhaps there's more to their story. Wolves are deeply symbolic animals. Maybe it's connected somehow. Stories in Cold River rarely stay buried for long. A quiet, comfortable silence settled between them, broken only by the soft breathing of River sleeping peacefully. Abigail sensed Emily's sincere interest, comforted by having someone share in her discoveries. Before Emily left, she handed Abigail her card, promising she'd help however she could. Abigail felt gratitude at this newfound friendship and smiled genuinely for the first time in weeks. Watching Emily disappear into the snowy woods, she realized something unexpected. Cold River was slowly becoming more than just a place of solitude. It was turning into a place where mysteries unraveled and broken hearts found comfort. Returning inside, Abigail gently lifted River, cradling him tenderly. The pup stirred softly, his tiny paws twitching, seeking warmth. "You're safe now," she murmured reassuringly. As she held River close, Abigail felt a tentative warmth blossoming inside her chest, pushing back the edges of grief. Later, as evening fell and the forest around her cabin darkened, Abigail carefully placed the photograph back into the red handbag. She found herself haunted by thoughts of Thomas and Margaret, wondering about their unfinished story. She resolved quietly to uncover more about their past, sensing somehow their story held keys to understanding the strange events surrounding River's arrival. Outside, as the moon rose bright above snow-laden trees, distant wolf howls echoed softly across the valley, mournful yet comforting, carrying promises of secrets waiting to unfold. Abigail glanced out at the snow-silent world, holding River gently against her chest. "We'll find the answers together," she whispered softly, vowing silently to protect him, to care for him, and perhaps find a way to heal herself through this unexpected journey. Inside the small cabin, shadows danced gently in firelight. The red bag lay quietly, enigmatic, holding on to secrets from a past that Abigail was now determined to uncover, as River's soft breathing filled the quiet room, symbolizing a delicate new beginning amidst the frozen wilderness. Morning mist clung stubbornly to the forest trees as Liam Crawford trudged along the abandoned railroad tracks. His breaths formed small clouds in the crisp, icy air, footsteps leaving deep imprints on the snow-covered path. He had awoken earlier than usual, drawn by a restlessness he could not shake. Thoughts of Abigail and the wolf pup she named River occupied his mind. Although he rarely ventured near the old depot these days, something compelled him there today. The depot, nestled quietly among the towering pines, appeared solemnly through the mist. Once vibrant, it now stood weathered and worn, its faded walls whispering forgotten stories. Liam hesitated briefly before approaching. As he neared, he heard soft murmuring from inside, prompting him to step quietly toward a window. Through frosted glass, he saw Abigail gently feeding River. The pup lay cradled comfortably in her lap, his tiny paws kneading softly against her wool sweater. Abigail's dark hair cascaded softly around her pale face, and though sorrow lingered in her hazel eyes, there was tenderness too, a warmth Liam had rarely seen since his own isolation. Abigail spoke gently to River, comforting words muted by the glass, yet clear enough to reveal her genuine affection. Liam felt his skepticism fade, replaced by a reluctant admiration. Still, unease prickled his thoughts. Raising a wild animal, especially a wolf, seemed reckless. Yet, as he watched Abigail's careful, nurturing gestures, he couldn't deny that River seemed calmer, healthier. Perhaps Abigail knew precisely what she was doing. Taking a deep breath, Liam finally knocked gently. Abigail opened the door cautiously, her expression shifting from surprise to a hesitant smile upon recognizing him. "Liam, good morning," she said softly, inviting him inside. He stepped across the threshold, feeling warmth radiating from a small fire in the old stove. River stirred briefly, sniffing curiously before nestling deeper into Abigail's embrace. Liam watched closely, noting the pup's improved appearance, and nodded approvingly. "You're doing well with him," Liam remarked, voice gruff yet sincere. Abigail smiled faintly, looking down at River. "I've learned quickly, with your help. He seems stronger now," she admitted gratefully. Liam glanced around the room, noticing for the first time the signs of the depot's deterioration: drafty windows, sagging roof beams, and chipped floorboards. His brows furrowed with quiet disapproval. "This place isn't fit for winter," he muttered, eyes examining carefully. "You'll need repairs if you plan to stay." "I've managed so far," Abigail replied softly, yet uncertainty flickered in her eyes. Liam sighed, shifting his weight uncomfortably. "Let me help you fix it," he offered unexpectedly, surprising even himself. Abigail hesitated, sensing Liam's reluctance to fully engage with others. "I appreciate it, Liam, but you don't have to," she began gently. I insist, Liam interrupted firmly, his tone brooking no argument. It'll give me something to do besides brood. His honesty drew a faint laugh from Abigail, a sound that unexpectedly warmed him. She nodded in quiet gratitude. Over the next days, Liam brought his weathered toolbox and began assessing the old depot carefully. As he hammered loose shingles, patched walls, and sealed drafty windows, Abigail assisted quietly, their conversations initially sparse, yet slowly becoming more comfortable. During quiet breaks, Liam found himself drawn to Abigail's gentle manner, her resilience evident beneath quiet sadness. Eventually, conversations turned personal, and Liam cautiously began opening about the memories haunting him. I worked here for nearly 30 years, Liam admitted one afternoon, while patching a window. Before the accident, this depot bustled with travelers. I loved it, kept it running smooth as clockwork. Then one terrible moment of distraction cost lives, shattered everything. Abigail listened quietly, her empathy palpable, encouraging Liam's rare openness. That day stays with me, he confessed quietly. I hear their cries every night. The guilt never fades. Afterward, solitude became easier than facing townspeople's accusing stares. Abigail reached gently, touching his shoulder reassuringly. Her voice was tender but firm. Maybe it's time you stop punishing yourself. You're a good man, Liam. Mistakes happen, terrible things we can't control. But holding on to pain won't undo the past. He met her eyes briefly, acknowledging her words without fully accepting them yet. They worked silently afterward, comfortable in mutual understanding, each feeling lighter in shared confession. One afternoon, while clearing old debris from the depot's attic, Abigail discovered an aged leather journal. Curious, she brought it down, sharing it with Liam. He examined it carefully, recognizing the handwriting instantly. This belonged to Thomas, Liam explained softly, running fingers across the worn pages reverently. He ran the depot years before me, always seemed quiet and distant after Margaret disappeared. As Liam read aloud softly, Abigail listened attentively, fascinated by Thomas's meticulous entries, notes on arrivals, departures, daily routines. Suddenly, Liam paused, voice catching as he read a poignant entry. Margaret vanished tonight. Eva searched desperately. No sign. My heart breaks daily, holding on to hope. The wolves howl mournfully each night, as if they know something I don't. The mention of wolves made Abigail's breath catch. She exchanged a glance with Liam, an unspoken realization passing between them. Could Margaret's disappearance somehow connect to River? Abigail asked quietly, a chill running down her spine. Liam shrugged uncertainly. Perhaps. Wolves hold great symbolism. Maybe River carries a message we don't fully understand yet. They sat thoughtfully in silence, each sensing deeper mysteries within Cold River. Abigail resolved quietly to uncover what truly happened to Margaret, sensing answers lay entwined with the wolves and Thomas's hidden sorrow. Days turned warmer despite lingering snow, and River grew stronger under Abigail's nurturing care. Liam continued repairs, each completed task subtly restoring not just the depot, but pieces of his own wounded spirit. Observing Abigail's bond with River softened his guarded heart, reminding him of human connection's quiet strength. One cold evening, after finishing repairs, Liam hesitated at the depot's doorway, preparing to leave. Abigail stood beside him, River curled warmly in her arms. Thank you, Liam, Abigail said sincerely. For everything. Liam nodded, managing a faint smile. Helping you both? It helps me too. Maybe someday we'll both find peace. Abigail's smile held quiet hope. As Liam trudged slowly homeward, he felt lighter than he had in years. Memories of the accident remained, but their edges softened, tempered by new purpose. In the quiet depot, Abigail held River closely, whispering gently, "We'll help Liam heal too." Nightfall blanketed Cold River, and somewhere deep in the surrounding woods, wolves softly howled, echoing mysteriously through the trees, weaving together past and present, sorrow and hope, into a tapestry of gentle redemption. The day began with deceptive calm, morning sunlight briefly filtering through heavy, steel-gray clouds that promised more snow. Abigail stood by the old station's window, sipping steaming tea from a chipped ceramic cup, watching River trot playfully around the floorboards. The wolf pup had grown noticeably, his gray fur sleek and thick, amber eyes bright with curiosity, yet still too young to survive alone. Abigail smiled faintly, comforted by River's improved health, but increasingly aware of the responsibility that had grown alongside her affection. As afternoon approached, Abigail noticed the horizon darkening ominously. The air turned sharply colder, an eerie stillness descending over Cold River. Instinctively uneasy, Abigail quickly secured the depot's shutters, ensuring doors and windows were tightly sealed. Within moments, the first heavy snowflakes began falling, rapidly intensifying into thick, relentless sheets. The storm's ferocity took Abigail by surprise, winds howling violently, shaking the aging depot walls. Soon, visibility vanished completely, leaving the building isolated, cut off entirely from town. Abigail moved swiftly, gathering extra firewood stacked by Liam weeks earlier, grateful for his foresight. But despite her preparations, anxiety tightened her chest. The depot lacked electricity, and the old pipes, now frozen solid, provided no running water. River sensed her worry, whining softly and pressing himself against her leg. Abigail knelt gently, stroking his fur reassuringly. "We'll be all right, River," she whispered firmly, projecting calm she scarcely felt. Across the forest, Liam watched the blizzard intensify from his cabin, heart sinking. He knew immediately that Abigail and River were trapped alone. Liam had experienced storms like this before, cruel, unforgiving, isolating, and understood their danger intimately. A sudden memory of the fateful night of the accident flashed painfully through his mind. Voices of passengers, screams echoing hauntingly in the storm's roar. He swallowed hard, fists clenching, determined that history wouldn't repeat itself, not this time. Pulling on his heavy coat and wool-lined boots, Liam took a deep breath, gathering a lantern and emergency supplies. He stepped into the violent blizzard, bitter wind instantly stealing his breath, ice crystals stinging his face mercilessly. Each step felt like a battle, snowdrifts deepening rapidly. Yet Liam pressed forward stubbornly, Abigail and River's safety fueling each determined stride. Back at the depot, the temperature plummeted dangerously. Abigail layered blankets over River, nestling him close to the crackling wood stove. Despite her efforts, icy drafts invaded relentlessly. Anxiety tightened her throat as memories of Amelia flooded back. The helplessness, the biting cold of the river's edge where tragedy had struck. Abigail squeezed her eyes shut briefly, forcing herself to remain calm. Suddenly, a sharp knock echoed faintly above the storm's din. Abigail rushed quickly, unlatching the heavy door. Liam stumbled inside, covered in snow, breathless from exertion. She pulled him swiftly toward the stove, relief and gratitude filling her eyes. "Thank goodness you came," Abigail murmured softly, helping Liam remove his snow-crusted coat. "I had to," Liam replied hoarsely, his face reddened and raw from cold exposure. "Couldn't let the storm trap you here alone." River trotted toward Liam excitedly, tail wagging gently, recognizing him immediately. Liam knelt briefly, rubbing River's ears affectionately. "Glad to see you, too, pup," Liam muttered, voice gruff with emotion. Outside, wind shrieked furiously, rattling windows violently. Liam quickly assessed the depot, eyes noting familiar weaknesses. "We must reinforce windows," he instructed firmly, voice strong despite exhaustion. Abigail nodded determinedly, moving swiftly alongside Liam, who directed her steadily despite aching muscles. As they worked urgently, sealing drafts, stacking firewood close, Abigail noticed Liam's quiet determination, a resolute strength beneath weathered features. His presence calmed her fears significantly. She understood intuitively this storm represented far more for Liam. A chance at redemption for past failures, an opportunity to protect those he'd come to care deeply for. As darkness settled heavily, the depot groaned beneath relentless winds, snow piling impossibly high outside. Abigail lit several candles, their flickering glow barely piercing gloom. She prepared simple rations, dried fruit, and nuts shared quietly. Liam stared pensively into the fire, finally breaking silence hesitantly. "This storm reminds me of that terrible night," he began softly, eyes distant. "I failed then. Couldn't protect those counting on me. The memories haunt relentlessly." Abigail reached gently, touching Liam's arm reassuringly. "Tonight proves you're stronger than past mistakes, Liam. You risked your life to protect River and me. You're not defined by past failures, but by courage you've shown today." Liam studied her gratefully, eyes glistening slightly. "Your kindness heals wounds I thought permanent, Abigail," he admitted quietly. "Maybe one day, I'll truly believe redemption possible." Abigail smiled warmly, understanding profoundly. She felt immense gratitude. Not only had Liam rescued them physically, but together they found emotional refuge, supporting each other's healing journeys. A sudden loud crack startled them abruptly, wind breaking a window upstairs, icy drafts flooding inside rapidly. Liam moved immediately, shouting above roaring winds, "We must block it quickly or we'll freeze." Abigail sprang up, grabbing blankets and old furniture, urgently sealing the gap. Liam nailed wood boards hastily, ice-crusted fingers trembling slightly. Their teamwork seamless, efficient, urgency uniting their efforts. After securing the breach, both sank exhausted near the stove, breathing heavily. Abigail pulled River close, wrapping him securely. Liam stirred embers, rebuilding warmth methodically. Silence settled heavily, punctuated only by wind's angry howl outside. Finally, Abigail broke quiet gently. "You saved us, Liam. Without you, we'd never survive tonight." He shook his head modestly. "We save each other, Abigail. Surviving this storm together proves we're stronger united than alone." Abigail smiled softly, recognizing deep truth in Liam's words. They remained vigilant throughout the night, supporting each other's strength, comforting River warmly. Abigail found herself quietly contemplating how drastically their lives intertwined through hardship, loss, and now survival. Perhaps true healing arose precisely through unexpected connections, forged strongest amid storms. By dawn, the blizzard gradually relented, leaving Cold River buried beneath deep snowdrifts. Yet inside the old depot, warmth lingered. Not merely physical warmth, but emotional healing born from shared resilience. Abigail watched morning sun tentatively pierce icy clouds, heart filled with quiet gratitude. Beside her, Liam stirred embers thoughtfully, finally turning toward her sincerely. "When I lost everything after the accident," he began gently, "I thought isolation was my only choice. You and River taught me differently, that hope survives greatest storms if we trust enough to help each other." Abigail nodded warmly, reaching toward Liam gratefully. "You taught me too. The healing means accepting kindness from others." "Thank you, Liam." Outside, Cold River slowly awoke beneath fresh snowfall, air crisp yet peaceful. Inside, Abigail, Liam, and River found quiet strength through unity, forged unbreakably amid storm's fierce trials. Their friendship, initially hesitant, now blossomed warmly, nurturing hope for brighter days ahead, despite past sorrows. The blizzard had returned, angrier than ever, its furious winds shrieking through the forest and battering the old depot mercilessly. Abigail huddled by the weakening stove, its flames dwindling as their firewood dwindled dangerously low. Beside her, River trembled, curled tightly into a protective ball, his amber eyes filled with quiet fear. Liam stood by the window, grimly observing the growing snowdrifts, knowing that the aging building would not withstand the storm much longer. Abigail glanced worriedly toward Liam, seeing her own concern mirrored in his weary face. "We can't stay here," she said quietly, voice strained. Liam nodded, jaw tightening with determination. "I have a hunting cabin deeper in the woods," he responded steadily. "It's small but stronger, more insulated against the elements. If we can reach it, we'll survive." Without hesitation, Liam began preparing for their departure, wrapping River carefully in warm blankets. Abigail secured her worn red coat tightly, gathering essential supplies into a battered canvas backpack. Liam carried a sturdy lantern and an old compass, relics from his railroad days. Abigail noticed his hands shaking slightly as he double-checked their preparations. "Are you all right?" she asked softly. Liam paused, meeting her gaze sincerely. "I'll never forgive myself if something happens to either of you," he confessed, eyes shadowed by guilt. Abigail placed a comforting hand on his shoulder, warmth radiating through her touch. "We're stronger together, Liam. Trust yourself. We trust you," she assured gently, her words bolstering his courage. Bracing against howling winds, they stepped into the tempest. Snow immediately assaulted their vision, stinging painfully. Abigail clutched River protectively against her chest, heart pounding as Liam navigated confidently despite nearly blinding snow. Progress was agonizingly slow, each step through deep snowdrifts an exhausting effort. The storm seemed alive, malevolent, determined to swallow them whole. Midway, Liam suddenly halted, disoriented by shifting snowbanks. The landscape was unrecognizable, trees and paths indistinguishable beneath swirling snow. Anxiety crept through Liam's mind, haunting images from his past returning. The crash, screams of passengers, helplessness of that terrible night. Panic threatened briefly, but Abigail's calm presence beside him grounded him instantly. "Follow your instincts, Liam," she encouraged gently, squeezing his arm reassuringly. Taking a deep breath, Liam closed his eyes momentarily, picturing familiar terrain from countless treks through this forest. Opening them decisively, he led them forward confidently once more. Finally, faintly through the storm, Liam's hunting cabin appeared, a sturdy structure nestled safely between tall pines. Relief surged through Abigail as Liam quickly unlocked its door, ushering her and River swiftly inside. Immediately, the cabin's insulation shielded them, the storm's fury muffled reassuringly. Inside was humble but welcoming, handcrafted wooden furniture, thick wool blankets neatly folded, and a stone fireplace awaiting warmth. Liam lit a fire quickly, warmth flooding the small space gratefully. Abigail unwrapped River carefully, the pup whining softly but responding to her comforting voice. She gently fed him warmed broth Liam swiftly prepared, relief evident as River drank eagerly. As River rested, Abigail turned to Liam, gratitude brightening her weary eyes. "You saved us again," she murmured sincerely. Liam shook his head modestly, voice thick with emotion. "Maybe we saved each other. Together, we're stronger," he acknowledged quietly. Outside, the storm raged on, yet within this small cabin, a sense of peace grew steadily between them. Abigail watched firelight flicker gently across Liam's thoughtful expression, sensing inner turmoil finally easing. Days passed slowly within the cozy isolation of the hunting cabin, the storm eventually surrendering to clear skies. Abigail, Liam, and River regained their strength together, using this quiet refuge to discuss their past openly. Liam shared deeper details about the accident, finally confronting painful memories long hidden. "I blame myself entirely," Liam admitted softly one evening. "Believe my error defined me forever. Yet, seeing your courage with River taught me differently, that mistakes don't condemn us permanently. Forgiveness begins within." Abigail nodded warmly, eyes glistening gently. "I lost Amelia because I blamed myself, believing I'd failed her completely. River taught me differently, that love endures despite tragedy, giving us courage to heal, forgive, and move forward. River grew quickly during their isolated recovery, his youthful vigor returning swiftly. Soon, he bounded energetically around the cabin, amber eyes filled with lively curiosity. Abigail knew the time approached rapidly to honor her promise, to let River return fully to nature. On a bright winter morning, sunlight sparkling brilliantly across pristine snow, Abigail carried River outside, kneeling gently to face him. River studied her quietly, sensing change. "You're strong now, River," she whispered lovingly, voice thick with emotion. "You belong free, like the river flowing forward endlessly. Be brave. Amelia's spirit guides us both." River tilted his head briefly, intelligent amber eyes seeming to understand deeply. With gentle encouragement from Abigail, River stepped cautiously into fresh snow, hesitating briefly before bounding joyfully toward distant forest trees, freedom shining brightly around him. Abigail watched proudly, bittersweet tears escaping softly, feeling a profound sense of healing. Liam stood quietly beside her, gently placing an arm comfortingly around her shoulders. "You've done something extraordinary, Abigail," he reassured warmly. "River carries your love forward, healing both past and future wounds." Abigail smiled gratefully, turning decisively toward Liam. "And now we must do something greater, Liam. Something honoring everything we've learned together, building something new, protecting other vulnerable lives." Together, Abigail and Liam returned thoughtfully toward the old depot, plans already forming vividly in their minds. Over weeks, with community support from newfound friends like Emily Foster and other compassionate Cold River residents, they transformed the dilapidated depot entirely. Walls repaired lovingly, spaces redesigned thoughtfully, creating Cold River Wildlife Sanctuary. Emily visited often, her enthusiasm contagious, as she documented sanctuary animals joyfully, spreading awareness broadly. Cold River embraced the sanctuary proudly, town unity flourishing warmly around shared purpose. The sanctuary's opening celebrated renewal, Abigail and Liam standing proudly before gathered neighbors, gratitude shining brightly within them. Liam's expression softened with quiet peace, past shadows finally easing. Abigail's eyes sparkled warmly, heart finally healing profoundly from Amelia's loss, joy found through courageous forgiveness. Months later, early spring warmth brought River briefly returning, strong, confident, fully matured. Abigail recognized him instantly, happiness filling her deeply as River paused thoughtfully near sanctuary boundaries, amber eyes warmly connecting briefly before returning calmly toward distant wilderness, free yet forever connected. Abigail turned quietly toward Liam, peaceful understanding filling her heart completely. "River taught us courage, Liam, courage to forgive, heal, and protect others moving forward." Liam smiled warmly, nodding gently, and Amelia's spirit guided us toward redemption and renewal. Together, amidst Cold River's quiet forests, Abigail and Liam watched sunset colors brilliantly painting sky and sanctuary buildings lovingly restored around them. They'd emerged from storms stronger, united by courage, forgiveness, and healing found within each other's compassion, forever guarding nature's delicate balance, their souls renewed through resilient hope. In the end, the story of Abigail, Liam, and River gently reminds us that healing begins when we find the courage to forgive ourselves. Just as Abigail learned to let go of her grief by caring for River, and Liam found redemption by helping others, we too can discover peace by embracing compassion, understanding, and forgiveness in our own daily lives. Every storm we face, whether it's emotional or physical, has the potential to reveal hidden strength, resilience, and love within us. Perhaps today, there is someone or something in your life that could use your gentle care, your kind words, or your forgiveness. If this story touched your heart, please share it with someone who might need a ray of hope today. Leave a comment below to let us know your thoughts, and how this message resonated with you. Subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories that uplift and heal the soul. May God bless you and keep you safe through every storm you encounter. If you feel this message in your heart, please comment amen.